Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
So we're going to bring back another author, someone whom we have interviewed before, and we featured him as a book of the month. His name is IRA KALINA. He's a psychologist, and he's the author of a book called Final Shot, a psych and roll mystery. And Ira is quite a talent and very interesting guy, and we want to find out. We can go over his book a little bit now, see if you haven't gotten it, then you may want to, because it's really a very interesting thriller, and it's fun. It has a lot of substance to it, and then we're going to find out what he's doing. So, welcome to our show, Ira.
Hi, thank you. Let me just say, in terms of Final Shot, that if people are interested, they can find me on Amazon.com. That's where my book is mostly being sold these days.
Okay.
You can get it. You can get it as a Kindle book, and you can get it as a softcover book.
You know, there's something about a softcover book. I just don't like that other way of reading. Isn't that funny? I do see people, but not as many as I used to. There's something about taking, at least for a woman anyway, take your book, you throw it in your purse, and when you're at a dentist or somewhere you're waiting, you pull out your book. Yeah.
Well, it had both. Look, it's wonderful to own a book. It's great to have the touch of it, the feel of it. There it is. It's a thing. Whereas, you put it on a device like a Kindle, it's sort of not there.
Right. And as an author,
get it out.
As an author, you must love to have your book in your hand.
I do love to have the book in the hand, but I also like it on Kindle. The thing that I like about these devices is, you go on vacation, and if you're a voracious reader, you don't necessarily want to take 3 or 4 books with you, and so it's all there in one package, and it's much easier to deal with. It's a little bit more portable, but I understand. I can make a case either way.
Okay, so tell us about the radio show that you've been doing for so long. Are you doing that now?
I'm not actively involved in it. I really would love to get back into it, but as a psychologist, I have a full schedule, and as a writer, that's how I spend most of my other time. And it takes too much to do what would really be a full-scale operation to run a radio show, even online. All of the content you have to get, and the kinds of tricks you have to do to get things online,
Yeah, I know, because you see, every week I do 3 hours. No, actually I do. Yeah. I even do more, but, it's been something I've done for a long time, and it's a very strong part of our business, the radio plus the magazine. And I love the radio. I love talking to people like you. I mean, I just talked to someone before on this whole Alzheimer's problem, and I'll just tell you that between the doctors and the authors and the entertainers, I mean, this is fun.
Yeah, I could see it would be fun, and it would be really fun for me also to do a show where people call in with their issues, and I listen and I talk with them about it, and then spin records that are related to what they're talking about.
I know that's what you've done. That was a wonderful thing. Wonderful what you did. Well, listen, now you're writing books, so we can go. I was telling you before we started that I remember we discussed the heroine in your book was named Asia, and she was kind of there for a while. I didn't really know what she was doing. She was very strange. She was mysterious, but Ike really loved her, and he had wanted more from her than he was getting. But you told me that in the future you thought when you write your next book, you'd make her into the prime character.
She is the prime character in a second book that I've tentatively titled The One. And she's an FBI agent, and she is sent to on a mission to find out who's doing the killing of the 1%. A lot of these extremely rich people are suddenly dying. And she gets involved in that. And Ike is still in the picture. She ends up meeting Ike again, and they continue their love affair after a number of things start happening. So he is also drawn into what happens as the killer starts calling the radio show. Ike is a radio psychologist, very much like the one that I would like to play on my own radio show. But they end up, this guy ends up calling Ike and warning. Actually, the villain is sort of a hero/villain. He ends up killing some very bad people, rich people, but bad people. And so, but nevertheless, he has to be caught. And so you end up sympathizing with him as well as being fearful of him. It's one of those kinds of, dual personality things that I'm presenting in the book. So, in any case, they continue their love affair, and I'm not going to tell you more because it gets all kinds of ins and outs and complications, and it would be a spoiler alert. I don't want to say more, but I think it'll be fun when I finally get back to finishing it. Actually, first draft of this is finished. I have to do some work and really sort of tightening it up and getting the grammar right and all the spelling right and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, let us
that'll
know.
Be a while.
Yeah, so let us know when you get that finished. Maybe we'll be able to feature you again.
Yeah, I would love that. And then there is the work I'm doing now. The book I'm doing now is really a very personal kind of book. A story about two boys who grow up in Brooklyn, and both of them become very successful in their lives. One as a rock star. There's that rock theme again, rock and roll.
I know, that's you.
In this book as well.
Right.
Yeah. Well, no, he's not me, but
but you love this.
Yeah, no, that I love it, and he is famous rock star on the level of, I don't know, let's say Bob Dylan or Neil Young or maybe
Sting or
Mick
something.
Jagger.
Right.
What's that?
Sting.
Yeah, I mean all of that on a very high level, very famous singer-songwriter with longevity, many years, and the story begins actually where and the other fellow, his friend, is an investigative journalist, very famous investigative journalist. They at a point in their life they become estranged and they don't speak to each other, and so many years later when they're both about 65, when the protagonist, his name's Lefty Press, is 65 years old, he gets a call from his boss at his media enterprise that it's time to go look into the disappearance of the rock star whose name is Sammy Stan. And that's where the title is, Whatever Happened to Sammy Stan.
Oh.
So he and his group of reporters, he has a small group of investigative reporters, start to search out what happened to this famous person, because a year has passed and nobody's been able to find out how he disappeared and what happened to him. And so there are a lot of twists and turns. It's, again, a spoiler alert. I'm not going to say more, but that's the setup for the book.
Sounds wonderful. And when do you actually get time to do this?
That's what I was saying. I don't have time for my radio show.
Right.
I find time. I have one today. I'm off. That's how I'm able to speak with you. I don't see patients today.
Thank you.
I write on Wednesdays. I write in breaks in my schedule. I write when people call me to cancel their appointments. That's when I write. I write on the weekends. I write when, I sometimes get away by myself and I write. I find time to write. It's taken me a good year now. I think it's a year and a half, and I'm not finished. I've only written 200 pages of the book, and probably I could see where this book is going to be longer than my first book, maybe even by as much as 50 to 100 pages. So it's going to take a while, but I enjoy it. What I enjoy most is discovering when I'm writing what is going to happen to the characters, because a lot of times I don't know. That sort of starts to happen as I develop the story and I develop the characters. So I thought I was going one way in this story as an outcome, but found in the middle that no, I think I'm more excited by going a different way, and so I went in that way. And that too, in that way, there are a lot of twists and turns and surprises for readers. So it was a surprise for me, so it will be a surprise for whoever reads the book.
Right. I think we talked about this. you write things that I think are great for either plays. I was just talking to a playwright, as a matter of fact, who's having his play produced, or as a movie. I think there's a lot of activity and a lot of feeling in this. Have you ever considered that?
Well, I did write a screenplay for Final Shot. I entered it into a contest, and I wasn't even considered. So,
oh, really?
It's a tough business, and you have to learn. Look, it's like any craft. I'm a beginner with this, as I am a beginner with writing novels, and it took me a long, long time to learn how to write well enough to get to the place that I am right now. And believe me, there's a lot to learn when you enter into this kind of endeavor. You really have to learn the craft of it. So I could never say that I'm experienced enough to have a screenplay, bought by a production company. But maybe someday we'll see. I tried, and that's another thing. It's like anything else. If you really want to succeed at it, you have to make it your main focus.
Yes.
And it's hard. I spent over 40 years making psychology my main focus. I mean, I studied, I learned, I worked with patients, I had supervisors, I had lots of different experiences. But I was immersed in it and made it my main focus. Now, after 40 years, actually within the last 5 years, so I've made writing something that I enjoy doing. It's more of a avocation than a vocation. But to be a really good writer of novels and a writer of screenplays, you have to make it your main focus. And if you want to have a screenplay produced, you really have to go to Hollywood, more or less. You have to live there. You have to know the people. You have to get in to listen to people pitch your work. And, that's really not in the cards for me at this point in life.
Sure.
I'm 70 years old. We're talking about boomer times. I'm one of the first of the boomers, right? At 70. So,
well, you don't sound or act like one, so, I mean, you do. You're a boomer, and you're young.
Yeah, I'm a boomer, and I'm proud of being a boomer. I think we have a great generation.
Sure.
So at 70, it's hard to start a whole new career. But, I'm doing the best that I can, and probably if I retire from my psychology practice in the next 3, 4, 5 years, I'd give more time to this, assuming, knock on wood, my health is good, and I live down by you in Florida, so I can have the warmth of the sunshine all the time.
Where do you live in Florida when you come here?
South Florida, not far from you. You're in Boca. My parents lived in Boca when they...
but wait a minute, but I'm not talking to you in Boca. You're not here now.
No, I'm in New York.
Yeah,
now.
Of course you are, but you come down here is what you say.
I come down there, and I like Delray Beach a lot. In fact, we just recently, right before the hurricane, we had a lovely place on Delray Beach, a timeshare place that we were spending a week at, and then the hurricane came, and we had to evacuate, unfortunately, even though it really didn't do much damage down there. But nevertheless, as a precaution, we had to leave. But I do like Delray, and my mother-in-law lives in Boynton Beach, and my sister lives in Boynton Beach, and my ex-wife, Andrea, lives in Wellington, I think it is.
No, I thought she moved. Is she still living in Wellington, even though she retired? I guess she does.
Yeah, she still lives in Wellington.
Okay.
So, I have a lot of connections down there, and I like South Florida, especially by the beach. I mean, I would love to live by the beach.
Right.
It's just wonderful. where in Boca are you located?
Well, we're located right on Federal Highway. Our office is Federal Highway right off Glades. And the radio station's only about 5 minutes from there.
Yeah, so that's a great place because you can, you're about 5 minutes from the ocean, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Well, so when you come down next time, you ought to call me so I can get to meet you in person.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'd love to come. Maybe I come up to your radio station.
That's what you could do. We could have a show right here together.
I think that would be one. In fact, I am coming down in January for the 90th birthday of my mother-in-law.
Oh, how lovely. Okay, and when is that?
It's the first week in January, right after New Year's.
Okay, well, let me know.
And I'd like to come down. I don't know if I'll have time.
Okay.
It's a quick turnaround type of thing. But
okay.
But if we can do it, I would love to do it.
Sure, let me know.
And then I'll be probably down again. I mean, I come down every few months. As I said, I was there in October. So, like it there.
Right.
Like it.
Well, let's continue with something. So I want to go off on a different tangent than I've done with you before. So now that you are an author, you have written, you're writing more, but you also are a professional. There are a lot of people who are listening that maybe have always wanted to be an author. They have a business or they have a profession. So how did you start this? What should they be doing?
They should write. I mean, they should take some time to have an idea, sit down and write every day. But I would say this, if they're serious about it and they think about publishing something or having their work published, it would be really good if they have not had a writing education of some sort where they focused on writing, that they get into some kind of program or school that teaches them how, teaches them different aspects of writing, the craft of writing, narrative style. All of those kinds of things are really important to learn how to put together a good story. So there are wonderful schools you could do online. There's a place in New York called the Writers Studio, which is a place I went to for 4 years.
Really?
And, when I say I went there, I mean I took courses online. Occasionally I went into Manhattan and worked with the faculty. And I have a mentor from the school. Her name is Joanne Newman, who works with me. And, I show her my work and she critiques it. And I learn from her different aspects of writing style. So anyway, that's a good thing to do. But if you write, you should write. Anyway, you should sit down and write something. And that's how you do it. Yeah. You have to have a passion for it, and you have to have I think you have to have an imagination, especially if it's fiction. If it's nonfiction and you have a particular expertise, like, for example, I have an expertise in marriage therapy. You use your expertise. If you have an idea that you want to share with the world, you sit down and start organizing your idea, do the research necessary, and put together a book. Again, there's a craft to everything. It's not just easy to write a book. Sometimes you need a coach, or sometimes you need to go to a program that will help you, get your style together in a way that would allow you to sell your book.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I understand that. And it's amazing how many workshops there are around. In fact, in Key West, there's a big literary workshop for a week. It's very hard to even get in. And I know people do that. So you're right. You really, if you're going to do this seriously, you can hardly have another profession. But you can do it as you said. Just start writing things down, and then at some point, who knows, right?
Exactly. And, there are writing courses and workshops and programs all over the country. And beginners and at different stages. And people should, if they're interested in writing, they should find one nearby. Or you could go online and just do a search, and you could find hundreds of them. So, yes, I would very much recommend that people do that. Go to a program and learn the craft of writing.
Well, I have a question for you. So you are married now to a woman named Marcia?
That's right.
Okay, and the sons, are David and Noah your sons? Is that who you dedicated?
That's right. They're my sons from my first marriage.
I understand, but I noticed that you did dedicate the book to them, which made them excited.
Yes. In fact, a little story about that. My older son, David, is, for a living, what he does is he's a artificial intelligence programmer, AI, and he creates computer games. He creates games that you can play online that you could buy. One of his games, Spider, the Secret of Bryce manner was an award-winning game. He's very talented like that. But what I wanted to say about reading and about my book, having dedicated to him, he bought my book when it first came out. And so probably, a few times during the first year that he had the book, I asked him if he read it. And he really wasn't going to read it. He just did me the favor of buying the book. So,
I love this.
Yeah. He's my kid, and he doesn't want. So anyway, what happened was just very recent. This last summer, he was up in New York, and we were going to the New York. We were going to the U.S. Open in New York City, tennis Open, and we're sitting down having a cup of coffee together. And he said to me, "I read your book." I said, "Oh, great! So what did you think?" He said, "Dad, I was so surprised at how good it was."
That's great.
And what he told me, in fact, you could read his review on Amazon where my book is listed. But because he's very straightforward, he identifies himself as my son, and he says something like, "A full disclosure, I'm the author's son," and then goes on to write about how he had not expected it to be anything he would really like, and that he's a literary snob. And it's true. My son reads unbelievable amounts of books, and I mean high-quality literary books. And so in the review, he writes about how surprised he was at how good it was and how suspenseful it was, and it kept his attention, and he was just so happy to have read it. And, of all the reviews that I've gotten,
Right.
that one meant the most to me because it came from somebody who not only because he's my son, but because he's someone who really knows about literature.
Right.
And so it really, it's a wonderful story for me anyway. For anyone listening, who hears that, I hope they understand.
Of course they do.
that was.
Of course they do. Yeah. And did you say that can he do video games? Is that what he invents?
He invents video games, that's right.
And has he sold them?
Yes, he had a best-selling game. No, he's made a living doing this. He hasn't gotten super rich like you might expect some people who are in that kind of field these days. But he's been successful with his. He's made 3 games, and they've all done pretty well. And he's very much in demand by people in the industry who look to him for consultation.
No kidding.
So yeah, he does very well.
I'm glad we're having this conversation because I know someone who is trying to invent internet games. So I will have to get some information from you at another time about him so I can pass it along. So
well, he could look up David Kalina online, Kalina.
Okay.
And his stuff is there. He could look at it. He could probably contact them.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
This is great. You never know, right? Well,
right.
The difference of what our show is and what you did, you had people call in because that was the whole point as a psychologist, right?
Right.
Well, see, I don't because years ago I did. I've been doing this over 25, 26 years. And unfortunately, I had callers, but I also had guests who were on the show. And the callers sometimes didn't want to talk to the guests. They wanted to talk about themselves. And it wasn't working. It was a little boring. I felt sorry. I didn't know how to shut them off. And so we stopped that. Because it really wasn't, this is really an information piece. It's like,
yeah. Now that I'm on air with you and we're talking about this, if anyone is listening who is interested in putting on a psychologist who's got a little bit of a different way of dealing with people who call in and would like to support a program called Psych and Roll Radio, where callers call in, there's a topic, they can talk about themselves, and then music is played that supports what they're talking about. Mostly rock music, but all kinds of music. Just give me a call or send me an email at ikalina@optonline.net. Is that okay to have made that little
absolutely.
commercial?
No, I'm looking for that. I didn't have that. So I have a phone number people can call you. Your office is 631-673-4719. No, it's fine. Let me do that again. Call him at 631-673-4719. And even if you don't have, that question, you might want to call him anyway. He's a pretty nice guy, and if he has a little time, he might squeeze it out for you. But I'm, and I think and we didn't really get into the final shot of Psych and Roll mystery very much, but what I liked is how, we've had a lot of people lately, authors, who I have now done reviews, and they've been on the radio. Some of them don't want to come on the radio; they just can't. Who have been, of course, they have such terrible reminders and memories of the Holocaust and Nazis, and so I do get some that are pretty spectacular, and they're well written. They actually usually get someone else to help them write it. And then I have a man who is so sweet and all, and he said, "No, you can review my book, but I don't want to talk about it. Well, you can read some of it." Isn't it interesting? It's all very.
Yeah,
I know that,
it's
because your grandfather in this, the grandfather of Ike, was of course in that condition.
That's right. Both grandfathers in that story. Yes, very much so. And my parents are survivors.
Is that right? Your parents?
Yes, my parents, and I know that my father would never be able to talk about this on the radio.
Really?
Although my mother could. Yeah.
Now that's surprising that your mother, because you're not that old, so they were in the Holocaust also.
Yeah, I was born in 1946 in a displaced persons camp in Germany.
I did not know that.
Well, now you know.
Oh, so you really do have a lot of history here. Every time I talk to you, it's more interesting. So why don't we do this? Because I think we're just running out of time, Ira. Why don't we do this? When you come down, please put me on your list, and I think it'll be fun for us, okay?
Okay, will do.
Thank you. Have a great holiday until I see you in January.
Okay.
All right, bye.